So in this video, I'm going to be going through the numbers of my wealth building journey. This video is part 3. You can check out the links to part 1 and 2 in the description. So if you guys have been following me for a bit, you can probably tell that I'm not the most comfortable person when it comes to debt. Over the course of the majority of my life, I've always used my own money, debit cards, and cash. That is basically it. But over the last couple of years, I really realized that I need to start getting more comfortable with debt to really accelerate the wealth building journey. After all, I can only earn so much money through my 9-to-5 job. Yes, I can get pay rises, but to really accelerate the process, I need to be able to find ways to use other people's money, like the bank's money, to really snowball the wealth building journey. Now, of course, when I talk about this, I'm not talking about bad debt, like carrying a credit card balance and paying interest on it, or taking out a personal loan to go on a holiday, or taking out a buy now, pay later loan, paying monthly fees and late fees on it. Nothing like that. I'm talking about good debt. Now, this is debt that can actually benefit you if you use it correctly and responsibly. So to get more comfortable with debt, I took out a credit card about 1.5 years ago just to see how I would like it and to see if I can pay it off on time. And of course, I had absolutely no issues in doing so. I have paid no interest on this credit card. It came with a bunch of bonus points as well, which obviously are very beneficial. So that worked out pretty fine. So to get even more comfortable, I took out an investment loan with a limit of $100,000 and I've drawn about 10K from that loan at the moment. Now, this loan was used to invest in ETFs and that's been working out fine. I've been paying the repayments on time. There's absolutely no issues with that. So now that I'm more comfortable with getting into debt, I've dipped into credit cards. I've got this investment loan. The next stage of my investing journey is to, of course, venture into property because the debt size is going to be a lot higher than what I'm used to. Now, of course, this video is about the numbers and the numbers will always be based on what's the max purchase price that you're willing to pay for a property. And keeping all of my debt journey in mind, the maximum purchase price for me is going to be $400,000. That is the max that at the moment I'm willing to pay for a property. And of course, I would prefer it if the purchase price is a lot less than 400K, but at the moment, this is going to be my ceiling. And yes, I can save up a bit more deposit. I can try and go for a higher purchase price because I can do that. I've checked out my borrowing power. It is possible. But doing so would not be the most sensible decision for me looking at my overall debt journey. Just the thought of me maxing out my entire borrowing power is very daunting and I don't think that it's going to be the best option. I'm going to be stressed at night. I'm not going to be able to sleep. And this is just not the best way to do it, to just max it out at the first opportunity that you get, especially in this high rate environment that we're all in. So to get more comfortable, I'm going to be happy with a 400K purchase price. Once again, you can always work your way up to it. If the property value goes up, you can borrow more, or you can look at buying another property. So there's always ways to work up to it and increase the debt level as you feel more comfortable. Now, of course, some of you guys are probably thinking with a price of $400,000, you can't really get anything. You can't get a house in Sydney at all for a price like that. So I will be looking interstate. Now let's jump into the numbers. So for a $400,000 purchase price, the costs that are associated with that are of course the actual cost of the property, but then you have $13,500 in stamp duty and government fees. You also have $10,000 in buyer's agent fees, which these are the fees that I'm predicting roughly. Then you've got about $1,500 in conveyancing and legal costs. And then lastly, you've got $1,000 in building and pest inspections, with the grand total being $426,000, which is quite a lot. Now let's look at how to finance that. Now I'm looking to borrow around 90% of the purchase price, which will mean about 360K of the funds will come from the bank, from the loan. I currently have about $41,000 across all of my accounts held as cash, which gets us to about $401,000. Now, I still have a massive shortfall of 25K that I need to cover if I need to buy this property. So I've been thinking about this, and to cover the shortfall, I am prepared to sell off all of my crypto. This is a decision that I am more than happy to make, and this will give me about $9,000 that I can convert into cash into my accounts. I'm also prepared to sell off a small portion of the ETFs that I've bought in the past, and this will give me about $14,000 coming into the account, which will mean that I've got 23K of funds from selling off some crypto and some of my ETFs, which means I will have a shortfall of $2,000, which is a lot easier to save up. It is a lot more manageable, and this shouldn't be too much of an issue at all. Now with this $2,000, if I save that up and I buy the property, it is not going to be the most sensible decision once again, because is I will have zero cash available. Now, of course, when it comes to personal finance, it is always a good idea to have a decent buffer, a decent emergency fund, a nest egg, if you want to call it that. So if I spend all my cash to buy the property, I'm going to have zero funds available. So that is, of course, going to be a risky strategy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to account for at least $10,000 extra to basically have an emergency fund and have some money available if the property needs maintenance or whatever it could be. So as it stands, I need to save up $12,000 with the 2K of the 12K being for the property purchase and the rest of the $10,000 being my savings buffer. Now, I know what some of you guys might be thinking. You forgot to account for LMI, which is lender's mortgage insurance, because I am borrowing over 80%. Now, that is not entirely correct. I have definitely accounted for it, and because of my circumstances, I will actually be paying zero in LMI costs. Here's why. I'm very lucky and fortunate enough to be working for a bank, and as part of the staff benefits, you can borrow up to 90% of the property value without paying any LMI. As part of the benefits, they basically waive the LMI for you. So that is going to be a huge saving for me. I worked it out. I'll be saving about $10,000 in just LMI costs, which is absolutely insane. It is a very lucky position to be in. Now, this $12,000 that I need, I can basically come up with these funds over the next couple of days by selling off some more of my ETFs, but I really don't want to do that. Aside from the tax consequences, majority of the ETFs that I hold are long-term buys, and if I just sell, I'm going to be stopping the compounding process, which is not the best way to do it. If we look at the stock market over the last year and a half or so, 2022 was an absolute shocking year for my portfolio, and 2023 has been quite good so far. So if I sold early on this year, I would have missed out on all those gains, and I don't think that is the best way to do it. So I'm going to save up the 12 grand over the next couple of months. So talking about savings, I'm going very aggressive on this, and I'm going to set a pretty ambitious target for myself over the next couple of months. With July and August, I want to save at least $4,500 every single month, which will get me to 9K. If I can somehow manage that, it means that for the month of September, I can go and speak to some more buyers agents or even go for a pre-approval. And then in the meantime, for the whole month of September, I can also keep on saving an extra 4.5K, which will get me to 13.5K, which should be more than enough to cover the purchase price of $400,000. So that is the savings plan. I understand it is very aggressive, but that is going to be that has been the main focus of the majority of this year. I have basically stopped investing for the majority of this year. I invested quite a bit back in January and a bit a few months ago. I've just been saving very aggressively. I've been cutting costs and just looking at my spending, auditing it, and making sure that I'm really putting in the right constraints to make sure that I can get there for my goal. So this is going to cut it for part 3. You can subscribe for part 4 coming out in the next couple of weeks. And for part 1 and 2, I'll leave a link in description for those parts and also the overall playlist. And guys, thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.